What's up, everyone? Ben with the BTC Sessions here, and this is your daily session.
Hodl that Bitcoin.
Before we dive in, a couple quick things as usual. Of course, big shout out to sponsors of the show, Ledn.io. This is where you can use your Bitcoin for a couple of different services, one of which is to obtain a Canadian or US dollar loan using Bitcoin as collateral. The application takes a couple minutes to fill out. If you're successful, well, your bank account is usually funded within 24 hours. Secondly, you can also sign up for a Bitcoin savings account where you can earn 5.1% interest compounded monthly on your Bitcoin paid in Bitcoin, not in dollars, in Bitcoin. So if you're interested in either of these things, check out the link down below. They also have a deal where if you sign up for a loan through the link I provided, they'll give you an additional $50 worth of Bitcoin into your account. And secondly, before we move into the news here, I've reached out to NordVPN. This is a service that I use myself. If you are using Bitcoin or anything cryptocurrency related on the internet, even if you're not, privacy is important, and I've been on a big privacy kick lately. So essentially what Nord does is it enables you to encrypt your browsing from prying eyes, things like hackers, other types of surveillance. So if you don't want people watching what you're doing, particularly with money and things like that, where you could potentially stand to lose it, well, this could be for you. You can get up to 6 devices on a single plan, and also it unblocks geo-blocked content. So maybe you want to watch a TV show, or you want to use a particular messenger service, or maybe you'd like to jump on BitMEX or something like that. It's not available in your country. Well, this allows you to change your location on the internet so that you can access those services. So if you click the link below, they'll give you 75% off for a 3-year package. It ends up being about $3 a month. So feel free to check that out. And with that, we will dive into the news. So the Bitcoin price has been on the move today. So right now we're looking around, we're kind of the mid 9200s, going back up towards 9300. Will we break through where we were before, that kind of 9400 mid to high 9400 range? If so, we could be headed to 10K, but who knows, we could bounce back off of it and get rejected again. However, we have people making sizable calls for the rest of the year. Now this is Tom Lee. He's been on CNBC quite a bit, but we'll just say he's made some notoriously bad calls. He was calling for like 50K or what was he? He was calling for, $25,000 in 2018, and we all know how that ended up. He couldn't have been further from the truth there. But he's saying that the rise above $10,000 will trigger massive FOMO, or fear of missing out, and that people will pile in and drive a 300 or 400% increase by the end of the year, getting close to 40K. Myself, I'm not super convinced of this, to be honest. I'm still inclined to believe that we won't see new all-time highs until well after the next halving, which is looking to be around May of next year. But I've already been surprised by the price this year thus far, so anything could happen. But realistically, I'm really not expecting to see the previous all-time high reached anytime in the near future. That said, look at this year. It's we're up $5,000 since our April Fool's Day surge, where it pumped on April, and you can see in the chart here, it was pretty much since kind of mid or sort of late November into December, it was pretty flat and crappy for most of the year. And then all of a sudden, April, we just started this parabolic rise, and we're now kind of halfway to our previous all-time high. I just don't see it yet. We're starting to see it, all over CNBC again. They kind of petered out last year. There wasn't as much mention of it because of the decline and the lack of interest. Well, of course, with the price going up, there is more interest yet again. So I would take anything that Tom Lee has to say with a giant handful of salt, but always fun to see these kinds of headlines popping up once again. It means there's interest. Now, to this note, we should say that Bitcoin is now larger than the Russian ruble as far as its monetary base. And by monetary base, we're not talking about debt instruments or anything like that. We're just talking about the money that was created by the Central Bank of Russia, meaning that it is now the eighth largest world currency. So you can see, now they did put in gold and silver here. So when you factor in gold and silver, it is the 10th largest. But when you just factor in central bank issued currencies versus Bitcoin, it comes in at number 8. And so you can see what's up, who else is up there. So Japan actually has the largest monetary base. And this is supply in trillions of dollars. So gold is in around 7.7 trillion, whereas Bitcoin is 0.2 or 200 billion, in that range. They don't go lower than a single decimal point. So really, actually, what's Bitcoin at? It's actually at 164 billion at the current valuation. But yeah, it's interesting also to see. I didn't realize that the United States was not at the top of the list here. But it looks like Japan, China, Eurozone with the euro are in ahead of US as far as the size of their monetary bases. But yeah, that's interesting to see. It also kind of goes to show, with a major bump in Bitcoin price, how quickly we're going to be moving up that list. If even a 5x increase from here, we would be top 5 out of world currencies if you exclude gold and silver. However, to get up to the level of something like gold, you're looking at a sizable increase, like 30 something times where we're at right now, which would, I did the math earlier, it would put us just shy of $500,000 per Bitcoin. I don't know if we'll see that anytime soon, but hey, maybe in the next few years. The crazier things have happened. And I did make a video a while back on the price where I said I could potentially see the next major bubble like a year after the halving, where our kind of blow off top would look something like in the range of $100,000 to maybe even $300,000 as a guesstimate. I would not be surprised to see that happen. But again, I'm just some guy on the internet, so you should probably not take anything I have to say to heart either. I don't want to be Tom Lee. Now, we were talking a whole bunch about Facebook's Libra coin the other day, Facebook's cryptocurrency that they're creating. Well, it's now that they've dropped the white paper and the cat's out of the bag and people have kind of seen what they're doing, well, governments are starting to push back. And we even talked a little bit about that the other day. Well, Russia is saying that it's not going to legalize Facebook's cryptocurrency. So there was a chairman of the Russian State Duma Committee on Financial Markets. He said it will not be legalized in Russia. In theory, we should talk about the possibility of organizing all kinds of exchanges, trading platforms, and sales of such currencies. We, I believe, will limit or prohibit the creation of such sites. Those who want to acquire these tools using foreign legislation can do it at their own risk. So more or less, they're not going to be welcoming it with open arms, and we've seen this from multiple different countries. Now, also, we were talking the other day regarding Libra that Facebook is going to have a native app that people can use to send peer-to-peer with their currency. Well, apparently, it's not going to be able to be used in some of their largest markets. So some people may not know, but their largest Facebook user base is not in the US, but rather in India. And while India is just straight up trying to ban cryptocurrency, they even floated a bill recently where somebody may potentially face 10 years in prison for utilizing cryptocurrency. Now, that bill is not passed, but it's just something being floated through their government. Regardless, any market that has banned cryptocurrency will not be able to use Libra. So you can see that you're starting to see very distinct differences here in relation to something like Bitcoin, where more or less it transcends borders, whereas Facebook and Libra are very much at the mercy of whatever jurisdiction that thing happens to be in. Now, that's not to say that down the line, potentially, given that it's open source, somebody could maybe make a wallet that becomes available, or you can use, I was talking about VPNs at the beginning, perhaps that might get you in the back door, but time will tell. It still seems that they're very much at the mercy of whatever regulatory scrutiny comes down on them. In fact, you even had Congress saying that they're urging Facebook to basically halt all activity on this until Congress and regulators have had an opportunity to examine it. And of course, regulators want them to stop doing what they're doing. And who knows, they might force them to, but that's why I'm thankful Bitcoin exists. Moving on here, this was a fun little story, and actually I'm just going to bypass this article. I'm going to go straight to the Medium post here. So there is a browser extension called Joule, and Joule is meant for Lightning payments native in your browser. And essentially what they've started to do and create here is micropayments that are automatic from the browser. So what it would be is, you can have all these little extensions up top in the right side of your browser. Well, it would be an extension like that. And when you click it, you would be able to set your browser so that if you're visiting a site that has automatic Lightning payments, perhaps it's a video streaming service, perhaps it's a pay-per-view article like Medium or something like that, if that was integrated. Well, without any intervention from you, you could set parameters so that your browser would auto-pay content. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, it throws out the window the old model of doing things on the internet, where either you are being forced to watch ads in order to obtain content, or you're giving away your information a lot of the time unbeknownst to you in order to obtain content, and people are then monetizing your information in order to support what they're doing. Well, this takes out that middleman and just pays directly, and your browser kind of just does it all in the background without you having to set it. So essentially, you would set the parameters. You would say, okay, I've funded my browser with this much. I'm okay with this much being spent in a single transaction, maybe like 1,000 Satoshi or 100 Satoshi, whatever it may be. And you can even set cooldown periods where you don't want a malicious site trying to just drain your balance by spamming you with a whole bunch of transactions. Maybe it cools down for 30 seconds before it redoes it. You can set things like notifications. Every time you do an auto payment, it'll just pop up as a notification. And you can also set a maximum payment. So lots of cool things here. I think it'll be really interesting to see this kind of stuff roll out over time. I do think it's going to be tough to get away from our typical model of advertisement, because that's essentially become the backbone of the internet and how people make money. And people right now, there has been a push for privacy, but also people very much right now, I still feel they don't value their privacy enough, and they don't realize the valuable information they're giving away when browsing the internet. I think we need to have people realize that their information is valuable. And perhaps the inverse of this would be when you visit a website, perhaps somebody, instead of taking your information and selling it, perhaps what they could say is, hey, if you give us your information, like you as an advertiser, maybe if an individual gives an advertiser their information, they can be rewarded for that. And you can just set that in your browser where you say, hey, I'm visiting all these sites. I'm going to allow them to know my country of origin, my gender and my age, I'm okay with giving away that information, and I expect compensation in return for that information on my browsing history and my demographics. So I think that could be a cool model, and I'm excited to see this progress. And finally, I want to touch on one other thing. I've been dropping these. The last couple I haven't mentioned in the show, but this is our final teaser for the full drop of our bull Bitcoin video. So we're ripping on Ripple again here. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to play it right now. And of course, let me know what you think. But without further ado, this is the final teaser for the full Bitcoin video coming out on Friday. And this is my buddy Russ method acting as a XRP Army member. Enjoy.
Shit, are we down again? No, it's all right. Yeah, you've got an XRP standard here. It's just so good, okay? All these people pretending what money is, I just don't get it. I don't get people's problem with this stuff all the time. It is the best currency in the whole market, just hands down. And all Ripple's ever wanted to do is print money, not even debate. Why do you think all the Bitcoiners get so angry at it? We can't even go on Twitter anymore. Like, no one even wants to talk to us.
Bull Bitcoin. Cut the bullshit.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, there's a link for it down below, and feel free to share it wherever you like. Hit us up on Twitter if you like to. And with that, guys, I'm going to log out here. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you want to support the show, you can hit Ledn, the link down below, or you can check out for NordVPN. Of course, if you're new here, hit subscribe, hit like, hit that little bell notification icon, because I'm always in the chat when this airs for the first time, chatting everybody up. Join me on Telegram. There's a link for that, and I'll share that in the chat if you're in there now. And of course, if you really like what you saw, feel free to drop me a tip via the Lightning Network at my tippin.me page, and I'll link a video for that as well. And with that, I'm out, guys. Have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow for your daily session.